In order at 4:03. Please silence your phones and stand for the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I will make a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll second.
Motion made and second, those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. On the consent agenda, apparently the minutes are not in there. They're still being finished up, I guess.
They'll get emailed tomorrow.
So we'll go to public comment. Citizens may address the council on items on the agenda or not on the agenda. Out of respect for the council and others in attendance, please limit your comment to 3 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record. Do we have any public comment? Hearing none, okay. Move on down to new business. Public hearing on land zone map amendments, application 739 by Ross and Kelly McGarva for comprehensive plan and land use district map amendments to change plan North plan and zone designations for the partial from R residential to multifamily located at 207 North L, Lakeview.
Kelly, can you hear us?
I can hear you really good. I couldn't hear the other person that was speaking. It was pretty garbled.
It was the mayor, so I'll set you right in the middle of the table.
Perfect.
Sorry about that, Kelly.
No problem. Okay. Love technology, don't you?
Okay. Let's give me a. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ray Kerner. I'm presiding officer for this hearing. This hearing is a quasi-judicial hearing authorized and required by ORS chapters 197 and 227 by Lakeview ordinance number 782, known as the planning ordinance, and specifically development code, which establishes rules for public hearings. Until such time as we have a problem, I will conduct this hearing informally and substantial as follows. The applicant, who has the burden of proof, and his or her representative will make an introductory statement, including testimony as to why the proposed or other relief should be granted. Kelly?
Yes, Ray?
Okay, did you understand that?
I did. Can you tell me if Eric Sorensen is in the audience?
He is.
Yes?
Okay, he's gonna probably do our introductory statement just because we're sticking along with a little side in Texas, so.
Oh, okay. All right, jump right over there. Eric.
Well, introductory statement. We, as a team, have been working to create a safe, stable, and supported place for chronically homeless individuals. We came into contact with Ross and Kelly McGarva, who sold Lakeview Lockers and then had it returned back to them because of a default, and the business is not going to be viable as a lockers, meat lockers, and so they were looking to do something that makes a difference in our community. The permanent supportive housing team was looking to do something to make a difference in our community, specifically targeting those who are chronically homeless and constantly the most expensive and most troublesome situations in our community across Lake County. Our hope is that we will get the variance granted because we were in a training. The legislature of Oregon has earmarked $50 million for projects. the certifying agency on whether it is a permanent supportive housing project. Center for Supportive Housing, we went through their training. Out of the 10 projects, 8 got funded. We were one of the 2 that did not get funded because we were not shovel ready. And so this was part of the issue that they had with us being shovel ready, was that we did not have the rezoning, we did not have the architectural designs ready for presentation. But this is being looked at the highest levels of the Oregon legislature. And so we get premier standing when it comes to this funding. They've already granted $30 million of the funding. The rest of it is still to be given out. And so I am here to answer any questions or what this project means to us.
Okay. Move on down, we'll listen to any comments by the town attorney, which should be made part of the record.
I have been reviewing this process with the town planner. From a legal standpoint, it looks like they have complied with the necessary processes and things. So this is a decision that is fully within your guys' hands. There's no procedural defects that I'm aware of. So at this point, from a legal standpoint, I'm comfortable with you guys going forward with the decision one way or the other. But there are no legal deficiencies that I'm aware of. This time, proper notice has been given, it's been properly published, it's been followed to a T, so I don't have an issue with at a later meeting approving this. Although this is not the meeting to do that. This is a public hearing only.
Okay. Persons who are present and support this application will be heard next. Is there anybody here, anybody else? Okay. Questions then may be directed to the proponent through the presiding official. I don't know what that means, but,
That's where you ask the questions.
well, I have a question, yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, you said this is for homeless?
Yes. Now the difference is when we're talking chronically homeless, these are people who have been homeless for more than 1 year, or they have been homeless 3 separate times within a 2-year span. They are the ones that are most frequently in our jails, in our ERs, they're the most expensive. Across the country, there is one standard that has an 80% success rate in ending chronic homelessness. That is the permanent supportive housing model. That is why Oregon has invested $50 million in this particular model. This is not a homeless shelter. This is housing where I have one location where I can put someone while they do the long-term work of rebuilding their life. It will be on-site managed, it will be supervised, it will be held, as far as people will be held accountable. But I've been doing this work for 16 years in this community. I have not ever had a safe, stable, and supported environment to do the long-term work. This is what I want, so that we can fix our own problems, in all honesty.
My question was, when you first said homeless,
Yes.
I was thinking of how many other people are gonna come into this community that, they see, well, if there's a place to live, we're just run over there and.
In all honesty, nobody comes to Lakeview to be homeless. We have plenty of our own. They come to Lakeview for drugs, relational issues. I mean, we have plenty.
Okay.
They're not coming here because we have a place to live. This is targeted for our community. We're working with parole and probation, the sheriff's department, DHS, Klamath Housing, the hospital, all of the physicians, public health, mental health, substance abuse. It's the whole team working together. The only real significant difference is that we have one place to invest our efforts. So we aren't looking for people in someone's backyard, in someone's woodshed, in someone's abandoned house. we actually have a place. We want to have a place.
Persons who are present and who oppose the application will then be heard. Corresponds to the opposition to the application, if any, will be read. Is there anybody opposing? None? Okay,
Mr. Mayor, for the record, there is no written communication either.
oh,
Yeah, there is no written communication. Nobody's contacting me by phone or email or any
well, that makes it a lot easier then.
We have a list of neighbors that have been contacted already in that application as well. Yes.
And the only request that was made earlier on in the process was just for some more development in the staff report, which was done just for a housing needs analysis, which that's why the report's so lengthy. You know, basically the housing inventory that was done and attached. So an
Alright.
organization made that, and planning officials have followed up and supplemented the record so that.
So then I can skip some of this and go on down to members of the commission, and town attorney may then direct questions to the applicant or opponent to assist at arriving at a decision. So anybody else have any questions?
Just for the record, how many folks do you hope this will house?
We're planning on 15 studio, a couple of one bedroom in that 15 unit mix. It will be, again, we have an architect that has trauma informed design experience, and so the facility will be built so that it doesn't trigger trauma past. And so it's going to be a design facility to be supportive for people.
These single occupancy?
Single occupancy.
Is it someone who is well, you said the requirements for the homeless, so it's not someone who is just unable.
Not passing through, this isn't a hotel.
But not someone who is just a little unable to maintain themselves on their own, but may have some.
That would really not fit chronic homelessness.
Okay.
I mean, people do have issues and we have temporary support. Most people with the capability are able to get their feet under them with a little support. These are the people that can't hold it together. They need the support to be able to rebuild their lives until they build that whole system. And so that's why this model works, is because it is support and it is whole community.
And this has been done in Klamath successfully as well, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. It has been done across the United States. Like I said, it's the only model that has an 80% to 90% success rate. The only one.
Okay,
My assumption would be that a lot of the people that would be staying there may not have a vehicle.
No.
That's a pretty good assumption, right?
That's unless they're living in it, which usually it's not a mobile kind of vehicle very often. But we are looking at the property across the street from the lockers.
That's why I bring that up, because as land sale manager for the county,
Mhm.
I'm being asked, the
Right.
request has been made to donate that property to
Mhm.
this low income housing kind of situation, and so I
What
was
is
just curious if there's really a parking element that has to be satisfied, if this is kind of the use that it's being approved for.
well, there is a parking element that is required according to code.
Right.
Okay, so second,
Multi-purpose,
many
multi-family.
of these people have relational attachment to an animal, a dog usually. And so we're not having dogs in a unit, but we are wanting to have availability for them to have a dog. And so a dog park area where they can have the dog, they can play with the dog on playground, community garden, things like that we could all put in that area, and smoking. Because smoking is an antidepressant, anti-anxiety, a lot of people smoke. And many of them have mental illness, so I mean, it is an antidepressant. So we need to support that while they work on making the choices for a different kind of lifestyle.
anybody else? All right. Says the presiding official will close the hearing and the commission will begin to deliberate. The commission will make a decision or continue its deliberations to another time and place. So I guess what I need is probably a motion to accept this.
I'll make a motion to accept it, and you said you need to state another time to take that vote on it.
No, just yell out the window, it's usually
So-
enough to get me.
I don't think you can right now.
So what you're doing is you're approving, this is a two-step process. The first is approving the staff report,
And your name.
which would be tonight, if that's what that's what your guys' desire. And then, once the staff report is approved, then you would approve at a separate meeting the ordinance changing it if that's what you guys wanna do. So the first is approval
There's
of.
not an ordinance in front of us.
Correct.
All the details,
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the staff.
Thursday.
I'll second the motion.
I'll call you.
Motion made and second, those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Did you get that? Kelly, did you hear all that?
Yes, we were able to hear most of it, yes, I understand that the motion carried, and then what was is there a follow-up to this part of the process?
So what will happen next is there'll be another meeting with an ordinance, and it'll get changed.
They don't need to be there.
And you don't need to be here for that.
Don't be there for that.
Nope.
Okay, thank you so much for all your help.
You're welcome, guys. Have a safe trip.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye. They said thanks, Eric.
Yes.
All right, next, US bank account closure, transfer of funds to mutual fund. Michelle, you wanna explain that?
What am I explaining?
The US bank account closure?
Yes. There was a balance of 9,300 and some change in the US bank account. And so I closed that account. There is, that money that can either go into a high interest mutual fund or a high interest savings account. It is not appropriated anywhere. So it is up to the council to decide where they would like to allocate the money.
So, and you say it's not allocated, or we just don't know why it was allocated, where it may have been allocated to.
Right.
So,
Would it be safe to roll it into a mutual fund and
yeah,
double
so
check everything?
for the meantime, I say, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it seems like a fine place to put it, and then try to figure out where.
And hang on to it for a few days.
where this was-
Well, this was a surprise to us because we thought we had all of US bank closed out.
So we've just been, I haven't had time to go back and see how much we have been paying, but it's been about $65 a month just to have them have our money. So I
And
took
that's
it out.
any withdrawals or deposits in years.
Correct.
Which is ridiculous.
So I went and got what was left.
About the fees or?
The fees.
Yeah, we've lost some money, but not anymore, so.
All right, next on there, declaration of the city's election to receive state revenues, resolution 983.
This is the standard, resolution that's done every year for accepting things like cigarette tax funds, liquor tax, all of those different things that we participate in with. So you have to have a public hearing on it to take public input of whether you want to do that or not. Not in,
Here, I'll pass it around.
I have never had anybody, from the public object to taking state funds, but. And
It's like what we did last.
Do we have
We all
state
have it.
funds?
Yeah, it's right
Yes.
here. It's,
yeah, just.
yeah, we
it's-
do. It doesn't look like a resolution.
I came in late.
You wanna look at that?
No.
It's, I
I
saw
looked at it
it in
last
here.
Do we, you said we
It has
need to have a
orange.
public hearing?
It needs to be
on
opened up to the public for comment and,
It's right here.
if there isn't
this? We
anything,
can do it all today.
Right
Yes.
behind
So open it up to public for comment.
For the long list of.
Open it up for public
Oh,
comment
okay.
and then we can.
Any public, got any comments on this?
An ordinance resolution declaring the city's election to receive state revenues is the title of the document.
and again, we are talking things like revenue sharing with cigarette and liquor taxes, and some of the other taxes that we get a portion of, every year. So it's a normal part of our budget. And then obviously variable with sales on those particular items. And there's a few other categories I'm sure I'm missing, but that's kind of the gist of it.
But whatever they wanna
Whatever they
give
wanna
us,
send
we'll
us.
take it.
Whatever, by statute.
We won't discriminate against any.
Good.
Okay,
We need to vote on this. We didn't.
You need to close the public hearing first.
need what?
Close the public hearing first.
Oh, okay. Close the public hearing at 4:22,
And I,
and then
move that we, vote to approve an ordinance/resolution declaring the city's election to receive state revenues.
I'll second it.
motion's made and seconded.
Before you go forward, I would just suggest it, even though it's titled bold, it should just be a resolution at this point. So if you could amend your motion to just as a resolution number.
Changing the resolution, changing the motion to an ordinance, a resolution declaring the city's election to receive state revenues.
And I'll still second.
Okay, motion made and seconded, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Hearing none? Okay. Next, Daphne Greer, Lake County Mentor Program requesting $5,000.
So I'm Daphne here on behalf of the Mentor Program, and we are requesting some support from the town again this year for $5,000. We kind of run into some roadblocks because we weren't able to host our annual Western Extravaganza fundraiser, which usually brings in quite a bit of money, about equal amount, and we are hoping the town could help us with that. We have, typically every year we fundraise about $20,000, which helps go to fund direct student activities with the youth. We're also a 100% grant funded program, so we rely heavily on funds from everybody that can make this possible. I'm in the grant writing season, I guess you could call it right now, and I applied for one and it was turned down because of the COVID-19, and people are funneling their resources to the bigger impacted cities, so that was kind of a bummer, but I have another one in the works, or 3 more in the works, so we're hoping to get some positive results from those. Just a quick update, we have the 4 programs, the one-on-one mentors, which we currently have 24 mentors in our, or mentors, and 25 kids in the program. And 3 kids that are still waiting for a mentor. So if you know anybody that needs a mentor, look us up. And we do the team mentoring also, which has been put on hold once a month in North Lake and also here. And we're hoping to resume those back in the fall when we can. Usually 25 to 30 kids come to those. So, and then we have our high school program, Girl Talk for Teenage Girls, that we serve about 10 girls twice a year. And our high school students do peer mentoring, having breakfast with the kids and also monthly activities. So we're just hoping to get some support from the town to keep our programs going and serve as many youth as possible in this town, because there's a whole lot that really need it. So.
Okay, comments?
I'm trying to remember where we took this one from last year.
I think we did the same amount last
I
year.
know, but I'm trying
Where
to
did we-
remember where.
what
It's budgeted
account?
this year for.
US Bank.
I feel like it was under general fund.
You guys have it put in the budget and it was supposed to be an automatic budget fund, I believe, every year. I don't know.
No, I know we only approved it based on last year.
Oh, is that all it
Yeah.
was?
It was a one-time thing, I think, from what I remember, because there had been a change in directors and
Yes.
some of the grant writing stuff had not been able to happen at that year
Yes.
because of,
Yeah.
so it was a special circumstance.
Because we hadn't done it the previous year, from my
Right.
understanding.
I don't think I did a line item in the proposed budget.
Then, yeah,
So-
you would know if you, because you did all that.
Yeah, I don't remember budgeting any of it, so there.
We gotta figure out that. Well, and I, Daphne, I 100% love what you guys do. I think it's incredible, and I don't wanna shortchange you guys, but I also know that we do have some difference in funding and revenue this year ourselves. There projecting like a 17% decrease in revenue for the state of Oregon, which is, tough for a small town. I would like to look at our budget, which we are meeting Thursday, and see where we can find that before we give you an answer. Because I don't wanna tell you no and we have leftover money somewhere. So if you guys are okay with tabling it, that's what I would
I think
recommend.
we can just wait till after the budget.
And if you haven't programmed that 9,000, if it hasn't been programmed, it was just something that was left over somewhere, that isn't. And it is not dedicated to something else, then you guys could add it in your budget process and then program a particular method. Assuming that you can't find that it should have gone somewhere else under the current budget programming, so.
So I'll make a motion to table it till our next meeting.
Next meeting, yeah. We should have an answer by then.
You have a motion to table it?
Yeah, if anybody wants to
I'll
second it.
second it.
Motion made and seconded to table it, and seconded. Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Nancy.
thank you.
Thanks, Daphne.
okay, next one. Gerald Stewart, Water Lake, Pine Hollow Trailer Park, Ken
Gerald,
Park Place, Lakeview. Jeff,
Gerald is not gonna come in and plead his case. He put a pretty nice little display together there. He had an ongoing water leak that went on for a couple months, was unable to get a plumber for a while. And then when he finally did, it ended up being quite a project. He spent about $3,000 fixing it, but even at that, we have a pretty set policy where we'll take the highest month during the leak and discount that to half that rate. So he had 1 month, he used about $1,060 worth of water, and so we could lower that to, I offered to him that we would lower that to 530. So that, help him out a little bit with this leak. It's about what we do for everybody. We only do it for the 1 month, we do half of what the water we use during the week.
So previously he ran $1,060 bill, roughly for just water.
Right, he had to
Not
carry
sewer
over.
included,
Yeah.
right?
No, that was sewer and water.
So,
About 1,000 of it's water and 600 of it is sewer.
so what was, because this shows $1,000 as well for this month, so what was the big bill that he got?
He just finished getting it fixed, so we read again, and we're due to read, again on the 15th. So it still reflected the months, those are both high bills.
But what are they?
For this
There's
time of
nothing
year.
showing anything outside of the normal then if he normally has $1,000 water bill.
No, he doesn't normally have quite $1,000, and he thought that it had been going on since last fall. So we only have in our books right now about 2 years, so I can only look at
What?
2 years, yeah.
So what is it, so you're saying a policy or practice has been, we'll take the average of, what, a yearly average?
No, we just take whatever month was their highest use.
And so then
Just
that
count that
ends
out.
up being your bill, or,
No, just the 1 month.
and then I'm trying to understand how we get to being half of what,
That's just the policy that's been set through our ordinances.
And I've had to pay it many times having the property management on water leaks and issues.
Yeah.
so maybe you could explain it to me better,
Yeah,
I'm totally misunderstanding.
I need it-
Like this has been ongoing for 3 months. So in that 3 months, you get 3 bills.
Mhm.
They take the highest bill. And they
Just during
discount
the
that one, just during
Just
that
during the
week,
week.
just during the leak.
Okay,
They take that highest bill and they'll cut that highest bill in half.
Just the water, not the sewer.
Just water, not sewer.
what is, so we're talking about a trailer park
Yes,
where there's still services to other trailers.
there's one meter for the whole park.
1 meter for the whole park, and these bills, it sounded like you were saying they're not that much higher than the normal.
there's no evidence of what his continuous bill was.
Yeah, we only have 2 years worth of data on that, and he says that most of that period, this leak has been going on.
For 2 years.
I find that hard to believe,
Yeah,
but, I mean,
That's
so we
not
would
our
have no
fault.
proof of that, yeah. I'm not.
I know he spent the money, I know there was a leak, it was coming to the surface, but
It's very hard to say when a leak happened unless you physically have like the inside of a home that's been damaged,
absolutely.
from experience, but for something underground, unless you see a spike in use, I would be very uncomfortable waiving any amount until we have more information.
Well, there was definitely a leak,
Yeah, I seen it.
and it's really hard to,
I don't dispute that there was a leak, we just don't know when, so if, we could say, sure, it's been going on for 2 years, but we don't have another 3 months now that it's repaired, a data to show what the actual true average now that this leak has been repaired.
so that's why we were gonna do it off the policy that we do for our regular customers.
I feel like that's probably a very, not standard policy for the public. I guess if we're not consistent with it, if that makes sense,
I think we're very consistent with it when someone has a leak at their home and they bring in a receipt that a plumber's been there and fixed it, and they have a high water bill, then we discount half of whatever their
or
highest.
just for that 1 month,
Just for that one month.
not 2 years basically.
No,
Yeah,
Somebody's asking for it, I get what you're asking for, it's just 3 months, right? That's
just for
For
one
one
month.
Go ahead, knock it
$500, $530, and then you
Which is the issue.
yeah, which,
And I think all I'm just was wondering, like, if we were seeing monthly usage for the last 2 years is roughly 1,000, and the leakage is now 1,250, or let's call it 1,500, and now we're
We
gonna call
tried
it
to
the
do a little
half,
more research on it today in the
I
computer.
can't.
we're actually giving you less than what your normal bill would
Yeah,
be,
I think
and yet
that's-
you were still using it. So that's why I just would like to see more of, for the last 2 years, if it's been, 1,200, 1,000, 800, and we've got an average of 1,000 a month, and yet this bill ended up being 1,500, and now we're gonna give it for 750. That seems like we're actually doing,
losing money.
we're losing money and not just giving them what the overage was as the off.
yeah.
Cause I mean, you're shooting many units,
It's
and
really
it's
hard
on one
to
meter.
determine how much of it was leaked and how much,
That's
was
why
used.
you need a 2-year history, or even a year history would give an idea of what,
But
the
he said it's been
average
leaking
use.
for 2 years.
Can I say something?
Sure.
So if you take 750 cubic feet, and that's what they're allotted for each lot, so it's $15 per lot. Anything over gets charged 0.011. So anything over is where you're gonna get your calculations from, and that's where you're gonna come up with the half off for the $530. But you have to remember to calculate each trailer that's in there, so there could be 25 trailers in there, but you still have to calculate, cause it's off 1 meter, so those are all gonna combine into that leak. So once you hit the 750 cubic feet for $15 per lot, anything over that, they're responsible for. So that overage is where the leak is coming in, so that's where the overage of the account is coming from.
Right, but that's not what's the question, I completely understand what Darla and Nikki are saying is, if this leak has been going on for 2 years, we don't have an average of what it's supposed to be.
how long has he owned this property?
Forever.
25 years.
So he
He put
should
it
have
in.
brought this up possibly 2 years ago, or,
40
well, that's what I'm saying, is like, if you noticed that your bill spiked, that would have been easier to address at that time period, a month or two down the road.
And it does go 2
But
years
just now
past.
asking
Yeah,
for the.
Well, you just got it fixed, if you look
Yeah,
at the dates on that.
yeah,
Well, once I
mean,
can get in the computer, we'll be able to see more.
yeah, I think we need more information.
We're messing around with one, I mean, we're having a lot of discussion on one case, but I just don't want this to become, everyone can now say, I had a leak, and I'm thinking it was 2 or 3 years ago that this leak started, and now I want, not just 1 month off, I want multiple months
We
off.
only, we
Well,
only
they'll
just
be-
got
only
for
do
one.
one.
Only 1 month ever?
Ever, because
Okay,
Jeff and
well,
I
that's
have
good
been
to
down
hear.
this road and we've had some pretty heated conversations in the.
Okay, 1 month from the highest bill in the amount of time it's leaked.
During the leak
Right.
period, during the leak
I'm
period.
fine with this, I just wish we'd have a little more information.
Well, we need to know what the
Yeah,
average
but
was
Yeah,
prior to the
because
leak.
I still think it could have been.
Well, that's the policy we've been using
Yeah.
for other customers, so I don't see
But
any
so
reason to
your,
hold
the
him to a
policy
higher
is
standard
during the
because he
leak
has a
also.
trailer
Cause
park.
I might say, well, I have a leak and it's barely a drop, I mean, it's a leak.
And something
It's
else,
not causing
Jeff,
much problem,
is
but-
this correct? You will not do anything without proof of repair, correct?
yeah.
Right,
Right, we
yeah.
So that's-
Yeah, we have that.
Yeah, so-
We can-
At least you've got that. I mean, you
But-
guys also you could say, you know what, we're gonna defer on this and wait for 3 months and see what his use is after it was fixed.
That would,
But do
That would
I
answer
don't,
the
I don't,
question.
I don't wanna penalize him,
oh, yeah, that was
Right.
I don't wanna penalize him with
It
any
was
more
running,
late
it was
fees.
running down the street where it was. They were in the process of fixing it when I seen it, but yeah, I did see the leak.
Okay, let's get on with this, guys.
So let's, I kind of agree with what Jeff says, is we need to wait 90 days and see what his average 90 days after the leak's fixed, since there's no record.
Is that gonna be the new policy for everyone?
No, we need to.
No, because we have record prior to the leak. You know, when he says it's been leaking for 2 years and she can only get 2 years back in the computer, that makes it very difficult. You know, when, you know, the leaks that you and I have discussed has been 1 month the bill's $45, next month the bill's $700 and something dollars. You know you have a leak, we have data to go on.
Yeah.
But if you say you've had a leak for 2 years, just like Darwin's saying, all of a sudden somebody has a high water bill, they're gonna come back and say, well, it's been leaking for 2 years. We can't get back that far in our records or, you know, computer issues or whatever. We need at least 90 days of an average to be able to determine is $1,000 an average bill for him?
Sure.
Because if it is, it makes it hard to give him a discount.
Yeah, if you had the 2 months previous statements from this
You'll be-
where
you'll
you
be
had a
fine with
five,
You know, and
$500
that's,
bill, then it'd be.
at least I
easy to
think
say
that's where Darwin's coming,
Well,
that's my thought
yeah.
process on it.
And it's, you know, a homeowner seems to be different than a commercial use, and so, and that's why a spike in commercial use could have caused a larger bill, you know, because you've got more people there, and
Right.
sometimes during the year, you don't have very many people there, and so it looks like, oh, the leak caused this higher usage, and it wasn't that necessarily. I mean, that's why it's tough on a commercial one, I think, to judge what the actual usage has been, and
Whether it's
I just wanna be
occupied or
careful, is all I'm saying.
No,
If we had more information next time, or, you know, as if we tabled this for 90 days, and saw the average, we'll be fine, but.
Or if when they get the computer fixed, we can go back past the 2 years and see what the average is. We just have to, we need an average
Cautious.
use prior to the leak or
Can I make-
after the leak.
Can I make a suggestion? Why don't we just table this to the next meeting, give her time to go back and look everything up?
I don't think that's gonna give them the information they want.
No, it's
Okay.
more like 90 days
Yeah.
on the average usage.
So you're saying
We'll see how it
90
goes
days
through
from
the
now,
summer.
To see,
I mean, it's normal average usage is between.
If we look at, you know,
before and after.
he got it fixed in May, or in April, so if we look at May, June, and July, that'll answer the question.
And Jeff, you, with this
So
particular,
let's table it
with this
until the first
being a
meeting
trailer
in
park,
August.
you're not talking large lawns or anything like that where you're gonna worry about a spike in use
Yeah, there are
because
some laws there, but it's a good customer,
But
because a
that's
lot of
why-
them never use a minimum amount of water.
Yeah.
but that's why if we have last year, exact same time period, which, you know, we have to always like, or take 2 years, the same time period,
Sure.
because last year was a stealier season during this time period. We weren't watering our lawns like we are now. And the year before, we were watering our lawns, so if we have that history, it gives us a better idea. So I would, yeah, I'll
Table it till the first
table
meeting
it
in
with,
August.
with no penalties to the customer.
Right.
For not paying this bill above and beyond his normal, whatever he wants to pay, I guess, no late fees, no.
Either that or you can pay it, we'll just credit him in August, however.
We'll make it right, we're gonna go with the policy, I just didn't see all the data right, I wanted to see the.
Yeah.
So you
to
made
show
a
that
motion.
it's actually.
Today before the meeting, so.
You made a motion, I'll second it.
Yeah, we'll table it till the first meeting in August, that will give us June, or, May, June, and July.
Sure.
And then, when
My
you
thing,
read
I just
meters,
didn't-
Jeff?
Just wanna make sure, when we make decisions, it's based on.
We're reading now, 15th or whatever month.
The 15th, so by the 1st of August, we should have, May, June, and July.
Right.
Okay,
Also may be time
tell them to crank back the water for 3 months.
we update our ordinance for water. It seems to be a very confusing topic I'm speaking for myself.
I was hoping when we
It
do our
is.
water filtration and that would be all inclusive, because I know we've talked a lot about, we as a council haven't had a chance, but I know I've discussed, and I think maybe even what Hugh is doing,
Auto read meter.
thank you, because that is a saving grace right there, would just eliminate immediately a computer system says, oh, you just went way out of whack today. So, you know, I think that's a discussion.
and a lot of
No,
municipalities that have done those don't have these huge leak issues because something is
Correct.
really spiking. Plus, a lot of homeowners, park people, whatever, can you look at, usually those auto-read meters are usually available through a website or something to your customers, so make sure you just choose
Yes.
one of those and it has that availability. Because it can also save somebody from getting their basement flooded or something, you know, where suddenly the water meter's spinning like crazy.
Well, and,
Have we
and-
not
looked into
home.
those yet?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a pretty big investment, but it's time to do it.
but
Which
it
is
also
pretty
saves
big.
man hours.
Maybe about $700,000.
Was it
For the
something like
meter?
$1,500
And
for
install.
one or something?
Something like
Installed, yeah, we had a quote once of $350 to do.
good percentage.
Yeah, it's like $1,500 per meter roughly, is what I remember when we kind of talked about it. But the long-term money that it saves from the meters being read, which from what I've read in the town our side is only a day or two. Roughly, it's not like substantially different, but it's still a day or two and a lot of time and money. But the bigger part is if we ever get into a drought year, I mean, we don't have water leaks all over or our own town lines, you know.
Well, at least you know whose side of it, of the system
Yeah.
it's on, because if the meter's spinning like crazy, they may have, you know.
So that would be, I would love to have a meeting just with that and that ordinance and all that stuff, that whole shebang. Cause
Okay.
that's super outdated. So
Okay, I like that.
on your very long to-do list.
I'll put that on my to-do list.
You know, with the master plan getting ready to go online, we don't really have a capital improvement project plan for what we already build up every year. So maybe over the next 2 to 3 years, that would be the project for our capital improvements.
Well, and I've also looked at grants for the smart readers. Is that the same as the auto?
Yes.
Yeah, same thing.
Yep.
We missed the deadline this year. So it's super exciting that we can do it maybe next year. It's all gonna depend on COVID, though.
Yeah.
We may get partial, but it would be great to do partial even, so
Mhm.
I'll keep my eyes open for grant opportunities.
But I would agree with you guys that you're gonna have to have a rate increase just due to the fact of of servicing the debt for the project you're doing. So it's a good time while you're doing one piece of it to kind of do multiple at once. Kind of like annexations where you try to do as many as you can, and then.
Yeah, I know, that's a really good idea. We do need to discuss that.
I'll put
We all-
together another little package and we can maybe update that policy.
Okay, sounds good.
Alright, let's move on. Karen's rodeo Saturday market levy.
For those that don't know me, I'm Karen Zamudio. My name is spelled terribly wrong there, but.
Sorry.
Zamudio. And I'm representing the Lakeview Saturday Market. And the town has been very gracious. We have a lease agreement with the town to use the parking lot during the summer for farmers market and crafts. This year, I was hoping we would have a decision as to whether we were going to open the market the beginning of July this year. We met last week and basically the issue was, do we have enough vendors to pay our insurance bill prior to opening? And we wound up hemming and hawing back and forth. We really would like to have it open because it is a way to get local produce to people rather than us all having to rely on long food chains from elsewhere. However, the way under phase one COVID opening, we can't do it. It's just too difficult on our vendors. So we called our insurance company and said, how long can we hold off paying our bill so you don't cut us off? And so they said, by the middle of June, we need to make a decision.
Karen, we should, probably by the middle of June, should know something on phase 2.
Right, and so I was hoping we would have an answer for you right now, but at this point, it's looking like we're definitely gonna put off things until the middle of June to make a decision. And
So I have no problem granting you guys that location, which we historically had for you guys available. If you guys don't open up, then there won't be any there, it won't matter, right? So,
Right.
I think we should just move ahead with granting them a location and now hopefully,
Well,
get that checked.
We do have a contract with them,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
this is just advisory, I have to say.
Exactly,
Alright.
exactly.
Yeah. And I don't remember if there's anything in that contract or not that says that they can't use it. There's an issue with that. I don't remember anything along those lines that said they're not able to open.
Yeah.
But if there is, we could probably just do an amendment to it, just to say, again, force majeure being COVID this year, if they're not allowed to open, they're not allowed to open. Obviously, that's beyond
I don't
our.
think there's anything in
I
there.
don't believe there
I don't
was.
think there was either. I don't.
If you guys unfortunately don't get to open, then people just be able to park cars in there as usual.
Right, and I noted somebody had tried to push one of the planters with their cart or something like that and broke part of it off or whatever. And so
Like just
we
redid
would
the-
like to be there just to kind of guard it or keep track
Yeah,
of it and whatever.
so, since you've seen, are you aware, Jeff, of the damage down there?
No, I didn't see it.
That's heartbreaking because we put a lot of time, there was paint,
Last
they
year,
painted, and then we
Yeah.
planted some plants, so I was curious, I haven't been down there,
No.
what the plants are like, or if they're all,
I went by there.
The plants are doing okay. I mean, a lot of them are the ones that have kind of been perennially been there. I've gone through with the crew and weeded all the grass out of the gravel, this year.
We
I
can
haven't
ask
really
them.
gone up onto the
Yes.
hill. There are some big thistles growing on the pipeline, area.
last year
up there.
Bloomers provided plants that I planted, but if you guys, I mean, I would like to still have plants down there regardless,
Sure.
if the council has any problems with that, just for the vegetation.
I think there's enough plants there, it's a matter of getting it watered.
Okay.
It's, especially now that the water's
It's
been
gonna fall
moved,
on us
as
again
long
this
as we
year.
do that, we're good.
Yeah, and I have something on that too.
Work program crews are not available, so.
Yeah.
I thought maybe I would lean on our park guy a little bit more for a few extra hours. We're already gonna do a little bit extra with him for the Sir Optimus Park.
Okay.
And so I thought, maybe him and one of my guys could water the flowers.
Cause you guys are gonna do the ones on
Right.
Main Street already.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you for
Thank you, Karen.
letting us know how you're
We hope you get
managing
to
there.
open.
We'll let you know.
alright, next on there, it's Occupy East Street, it's informational that they have canceled the Occupy East Street this year. And then we'll move on down there, council update, anybody have anything else?
Well, thank you to Karen for reminding me. The horticulture florist teacher, totally butchered that, whatever it's called, floriculture, I don't know. She was wanting to know if they plant Friday morning, would you guys be able to water in the afternoon?
Friday afternoon.
Yes,
They're
but I
on.
know your schedule, I don't know, that's why I need to find out your
I don't have
schedule.
anybody on Friday afternoon.
Okay, what, Thursday, if it would be possible, or should we just hold on maybe
Thursday
till
anytime,
Monday?
yeah.
Almost maybe we should see if we can do it Monday. That way it gets a good week of watering before
Mhm.
sitting in there for a couple days. I'll see if we can, try to move it to Monday. But
Okay.
I'll be in contact to let you know if
Sure.
for some reason. They were thinking maybe Thursday afternoon, but it might be tough for them to get enough kiddos.
It usually takes them more than one day.
Yeah,
Anyway.
and I don't think Danae's in town until the afternoon, so, then they won't get watered, cause you're not working at all on Fridays right now?
Yeah, we work 7 to 11.
Okay. Oh, you do, okay, okay, well, I'll get in contact with you and let you know for sure,
Okay.
Monday would probably just be easier.
Sure.
That, to add to your to-do list,
Yeah.
starting Monday.
Okay, anybody have anything else?
I had one more thing.
Yeah.
You guys deemed several pieces of equipment surplus the
Oh, yeah,
last meeting, and that sale came and it went amazingly, I think. We got more than I hoped to get on all of the pieces, so there was 11 things, there was 7 cop cars, and they averaged about $1,500 a piece.
Oh, good.
And the Dodge Charger went for over 4,000, so it was like a crazy bidding war with the Dodge Charger.
Didn't we pay a lot less?
The 2 fire trucks had a combined price of 3,000, which, they were completely obsolete, had, very no value to the fire department, so a little bit of money back into the volunteers, a little bit back in. We got rid of our dump truck, got $1,700 for it. It had been depreciated out probably 30 years ago. We sold a pickup that didn't even run, and we messed around with it at the sale because we had a little bit of time, got it running, and sold it for $800. So
Wow.
the combination of 11 things was about 18,700, and then we'll get almost 17,000 of that.
Excellent.
Very nice.
So what
And
do
we
they-
also get to stop insuring them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Today.
repairing them. So
Yes.
what are we doing with that lot now? Are we gonna clean it up a little bit? 'Cause
It's pretty cleaned up.
Is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
we weed eat it and it's empty, and
We're not gonna build a collection of anything there, right?
Can't guarantee that. We can find something to put in there.
More stuff to get rid of?
Fill it full of small children.
What on the daycare?
It's got a fence there.
Oh, good grief.
No, we just drive by and drop off, push them in the fence. Pretty good.
A couple of years ago, we talked about the sheriff's office needing space or,
I think that's already been dealt with in the EMS building, conversion services.
okay.
So they've got it was for deputy
I
tag.
remember, I should-
Yeah, we store
Right.
our roller and our crack sealing machine and stuff out of the weather there in the winter.
Oh, yeah, that was when it was transferred to us, that's why.
Right.
The fire department has absorbed a couple of bays of it. We keep our Christmas decorations there.
Now it's a nice clean empty lot.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Now the kids have no more cars to cut peppers on.
Okay, if there's nothing else, then we will adjourn the regular meeting. Oh, yeah, Darryl,
Yeah, I have an update if you wanna
yes, please.
spend a few minutes.
John, you can
Okay.
minimize.
Yeah, close that, there you
Yeah.
go.
Maybe not.
Okay, if you go back to the, one of them says, that one, yeah, open that. Okay, scroll up, keep going up. There, that's good. Our new permit for our wastewater, for our sewage discharge to the lagoons and irrigation, we've been updating that. The submittal's been made quite some time ago on the permit. We had to update the reclamation plan, the water reclamation plan for the irrigation. Sorry. I fired.
You can't get off that easy.
Anyway, part of the process, we cannot dump, septic waste from the septic pumpers. Right now, it's been going over the bank of the lagoon. Historically, this doesn't work, does it?
No, you're,
Yep, there. No.
but I don't think you can actually go into I don't think you can actually do on the screen. I think it just refracts.
Okay. Up there, below that big circle, which was an old treatment plant the town had, septic used to dump into a pump station there. The town had some problems with that, so it was moved to the dumping over the bank of the lagoon, and with the solids and whatnot, we can't do that anymore. So, part of this permit approval, we have to put in a septic, dumping station, which we've got approval to do, and we need to get it, constructed. So it's at the corner of South Third and, S Street, where just by the baseball fields. If you'll scroll up to the other.
Where all the gravel is at right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Good sandbag there.
Sandbag filling.
Okay, so you see there on the upper left, it's gonna drop down into an existing manhole. On the lower right, that's an existing manhole that's already there. That unit up on top will be a screen, so that we don't get any solids, rocks, any debris that goes down into our sewer and into the pumping station. The trucks will back in on the left end of that. They'll be able to hook up their hose. They don't dump into it. They have to hook up their hose and discharge through the hose. There'll be a little building around that screen to protect it. They'll have to wash the screen down with water service there. And then there's a little trough. It's kind of hard to see in that. Any rocks and debris, they have to sweep into a dumpster.
Who's they?
The septic dumpers,
Okay.
which is
That's
basically,
what I was like, we're not
that's-
paying these guys enough.
which is basically
We do that
police,
first.
Lakeview Sanitation.
Lakeview Sanitation, and we do get some other vendors. So, they'll have to fill out a form when they dump. We have to conduct some training before they can dump, and then they'll be permitted to.
We're gonna raise our rates to pay for this little station.
That's what I was gonna ask you, Joe, cause, yeah.
I'm sure that's not gonna be cheap to put that in.
Right now, they only pay 4 cents a gallon to dump, and we average from 10 to 20,000 gallons a month. So, a little bit less than that in the winter. And we'll probably do it at least double that fee to 8, maybe possibly 10 cents would still be reasonable.
And this is for those using the station as a dump spot,
Right,
not town
Right, when you go out and
sewer.
suck someone's septic tank out, rather it's not going into the city sewer.
Right.
It's only the
Okay.
commercial
Okay.
septic system, it's not for public use.
Okay.
So they'll have to sign a contract, you know, that they won't, we'll have one worked up that they don't.
It'll be easier to track how much they're actually dumping, because right now they have a key to the gate, and it's the honor system.
Which is not very honorable sometimes.
Sometimes it's forgetful.
Anyway, this is fairly inexpensive. We looked at other units, there's other units you can put in that actually have a card with the ID of the vendor, and they swipe it through and automatically bills it. We opted for this.
And there will be no smell issues that we know of.
No
for
more than we normally have right there.
Little
It's
deep fields.
not a great smell in the corner.
That's already been the dump.
It's ours, yeah, well, that's our largest
Yeah.
lift
this is
station
more
we have
controlled
right there.
now.
No, they need to keep it clean. They won't let them dump it. Okay,
So what is the cost?
there's a little building over that, we checked on those screens, I bet we spent $50,000.
50,000.
Where do you want me to go?
And we'll recoup that with the raise fees in a couple of years, hopefully.
Maybe 3.
This
The next one up there. Yeah, that one's fine. That's a little overview of our whole system. You see Lakeview on the right. You see the 4 primary sewage lagoons, storage pond, our irrigation area. You see the black line that kind of comes out from under the ponds, goes to the right. Yeah, there you go. Keep on right.
Ooh, that's my left, but
Oh.
okay.
East. How about that?
Oh, gosh.
Don't
now
do
you're
that.
really- Not today.
Goes over to the railroad tracks and then all the way down to M Street, and you see at the bottom on Cavernous in the lower right, that's a Red Rock site. That's our cooling water. We're gonna take about 650 gallons a minute down there for their cooling towers, on their turbine. We bring the water back, into the primary lagoon, which is the upper right one. So we'll lose about 150 gallons a minute, so we're gonna lose about 150 gallons a minute of wastewater, which is good. We don't have to deal with it. This project is financed by the loan we have on Cadmus for the water sewer extensions.
Is that through Business Oregon? I think?
Yeah, through Business Oregon. So the amendment was put in several months ago to include this funding. And that should be forthcoming any day now, is what Larry Holzgang told me. Part of the problem with the amendment was, I think we spent $300,000 or something on Cadmus with the water sewer extension, which was that loan. And then we were gonna amend it to add another $1.25 million. That kind of set up some red flags. You can increase your amount, 4 times. But anyway, that'll be coming through. Jeff Headland and I will be working on a contract with Red Rock to cover those costs. We're about ready to go out to bid with it. We won't go out to bid until we have that amendment taken care of. Have an understanding with Red Rock. We kind of drug our feet a little bit on it. We really can't spend any money until the loan documents are approved. So we did a little work. Red Rock stepped up and paid for some of the design fees, so that was a help. So we could get a jump on it. But you'll be seeing that coming through. The use of the industrial wastewater will be included in our new sewage permit, our NPDS permit. We'll have a compliance point down at Red Rock site for the water quality compliance. Red Rock right now is they've got to do some additional treatment of their water when it comes back to our lagoons. They had some high concentrations of what's called BOD, or biochemical oxygen in the man. They have to treat that down. It was just too high for our lagoons. They're either gonna do that on site, and they also looked at a piece of property we have at the corner of Roberta and 9th Street. So I don't know if they're gonna need that or not. If they need it, we'll come back and see what that entails. That's where Jeff's been dumping his street sweeping.
Tailings from digs, yeah. I'd rather see it be on their site if they can facilitate it on their site, because that way they're more responsible for their product.
We can move to, there's a photo of their site.
This one,
No,
that one?
No, go down to your menu bar and there's a little picture.
Oh,
Oh,
is this it?
no, that's just the
See
same
your
one we're
go-to
looking at.
meeting button? There's a little picture to the right of it. Keep going, one more, there,
Oh.
right there, you go.
Okay, that's the Red Rock site. We just did some updated photos Friday, so, but anyway, I just hate that, it just doesn't work.
What do you want to point out?
The whole
Right here?
reason behind this, using our lagoon water is also not to use our actual drinking water, right?
Yeah.
So this is a huge project, and it's a huge addition to the project, by being able to do this. And just need to be reminded of that, because it's
Well, it's also,
good
the
for everybody.
state also is not real happy with you using fresh drinking water for industrial purposes.
We didn't have that much.
Yeah.
That too.
Well,
You have a choice.
this is commonly done, I don't know if you're familiar with the Knopf plant in Chess Lake City, they do the same, it's fiberglass insulation plant. They do the same thing, they pull out of the, sewage lagoons for the flowing water for the towers also.
It's excellent, it's a great way to use your water.
Who's, Daryl, who's gonna be responsible to maintain that system after it's in, is that gonna be Red Rock or is that gonna be the town?
They dropped the filter requirements at the lagoon, which was a help to us. So, no, we're bidding it as a public works project. It'll be owned by the town.
Owned by the town?
Yeah, to interest the site.
But what about the lines as well?
So from anything that's on their site, they're responsible for, once it leaves their site.
Just like any other customer, basically, their internal stuff's their business, all of our stuff that's in the streets and whatever is
So-
ours.
We're gonna have to develop a contract with them that has a capital recovery cost or
Yeah,
something to get our money back.
my
and
next
cover the-
question is how are
cover
you gonna know them for
Yeah,
doing that?
we need to cover the maintenance, the operation, and then.
So there'll be like a
money back.
price per gallon or something,
Yeah,
or a flat fee or.
something like that.
Yeah.
It would probably be, yeah, we might lean towards a flat fee, because they may vary.
It'd be hard to do a price per gallon probably coming out of the lagoons.
Yeah.
So,
Right, and then it's another metering situation where you've got, where we kind of figure out what we really need to recover and then kind of maintenance costs with and the fee based on a CPI increase. For inflation, that's a little cleaner, and that way we're not fighting them over meter readings and everything else that we do with the geothermal, but it's similar concept, because we're basically providing, I mean, obviously we're providing heat water, but it's a similar idea as well.
yeah.
So the site down there will be coming in up here. Their site is pretty well plastered. This down here is all wetlands. There's archaeological stuff over here. So the only place they have left is where that pile of dirt is. You drive by and climb it. So they may be able to use that.
What about now that they're taking over Dogway Construction's property?
I don't know.
That's directly.
Did they take that piece of Dog Lakes with the mobile home and all that? They're taking over that, that's one of what's cleaning that off.
The other thing they have down there, they have 20,000 pounds per hour of steam. So we wanted to run a geothermal line down there from our injection well, which is right there by
Dog Lake's new.
Yeah, it is. Dog Lake bought that from the Carlins, that old Hall Safe building. That way we could put a heat exchanger down there and, we could increase our temperature of our geothermal water. We could get more, we could put more customers on.
If we had a situation where the well was down, we'd still be able to supply heat to the hospitals and the schools.
Cause you'd still be getting their steam
Right.
from their plant, yeah.
So we're gonna be working on that. I don't have any good numbers. I wanted to put the pipe in, when we did the cooling water pipes. Some of the connections is right by Cadmus on the upper part where I showed on the photo. I don't have all the details from them yet, so I don't have any good costs on
So are they going to have any kind of facility to store the wastewater, the cooling water, I guess, in the event that our lines somehow go down for some reason? I mean, cause they'll be ours once we put them in, right? Like, let's say
Yeah,
there's some
they
major.
have I think they're gonna use our fresh water as a backup.
Well, they
If we
have
happen
that
to
as a-
not have sewer water, then they're gonna use the fresh water.
They have that, and then in the, kind of the top upper left, see that round tank?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Blue one?
that's where they store the cooling water. So they do have some,
So they'll have some time, run time.
Yeah, that's my
to something-
concern, is
Run
some
time to something happens.
major catastrophe or something where our lines, their lines are damaged.
Is that about a half a million gallon tank?
it's more than that.
Yeah, it's a big ass.
It's a big one.
Million gallon?
Is that a technical measurement?
So that would actually carry them for 24 hours.
Okay, yeah, and that's good enough.
Hey, one at a time. Okay,
Okay, now go to the work back where you were.
Just,
Keep going. What's the other one up there? That one. Okay, where's the north end drawing? Go back to that one on the far left or your right. There we go. We were approached in February, March. This is the area from the cemetery, north, right at the J Street intersection. The J Street intersection with Highway 395 is right there in the lower right.
This is a completely different project.
Yeah.
We're on the other end of town.
Other end of town, so as you go north on 395, Pacific Pine is doing quite a bit of expansion. Greg Larson came in, he wants water to run his fire suppression system, the sprinklers in the building. He's gonna be adding another building, I understand, and possibly some more employees. So we met with some of the people out there, the stops on the Shell station have had problems with sewer and water for quite some time. There's my office, there's of course Pacific Pine, there's the Perlite. Perlite is sold, if you haven't, you've probably heard that. Anyway, we're planning to run water and sewer out there and serve them. And Pacific Pine, Stobbs, my office, Pardew's, the USDA Service Center, all that would annex to the town to get the services. I don't know about some of the other users there. I don't know if we got verification. Verbal. So we'd run a 10-inch line out there to serve Pacific Pines water needs, and some sewer lines. We wouldn't use a gravity sewer system, we'd use a small pressure sewer system with individual grinder pumps because the sewage loads aren't high. The biggest sewage load is Staub at the Shell station with the restaurant, and the rest of them are pretty small. So we've submitted a letter of interest for funding, and that's all that's been done now. Pacific Pine has pushed pretty hard because they're kind of stuck. They need that fire suppression system. So And I didn't go over to that other one, on the estimate.
So where's our lines end right now? Are they at J
At
Street?
J.
And then they head back to the west towards Pacific Pine now, or?
No, they end at J and they go down Missouri. They go to the west on Missouri. And then we also have the line that goes to the prison on Dusenberry, on the old logging road. Okay, so we have those to connect into.
So wouldn't have to run lines
So
very
most
far.
of what's on the screen would be annexed, is what you're saying? Would agree.
Yes.
They want service, that's our
Oh,
requirement.
yeah,
They
I'm
annex.
all for it.
And we would be, and this definitely speaking sense, this would be getting done
You don't get any
because,
streets with it.
right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
The other thing that would happen, and I think Daryl, correct me if I'm wrong, after that they see the estimate, I think this would be, if we get the funding, this would be at no additional cost to town, because what you would do is you would dedicate the property tax revenues for a certain period of time from the annexation to paying for this project. So
Yeah.
you won't see additional revenues, but you will then see the increased customer use, because they will be paying rates for all of this.
And there's also gonna be some user fees above and beyond their monthly bills.
And it'll be commercial.
Yeah, 'cause that's also.
There's the estimate, we don't need to go through all those line items, we can go down to the bottom, I think we had, 753. Scroll back up there a little bit. If we get a 30-year loan, we're looking at about a $40,000 capital recovery cost, $41,000 payment. There's some parts of that will be paid up front. Some of the connection fees and whatnot will be paid up front. Larson has indicated he might pay a little more of his up front. So I don't have a really good handle on what they're gonna be, everyone's gonna be paying yet. But if you go down a little bit more, you'll see the property tax revenues, of what we would have per year.
Can you tell us what it is? I can't read it from the same.
Up to 28,400.
Go back up a little bit.
Hang on a second. Outside.
Oh, okay, here we go. I'm sorry, I skipped one point. Right there, it says the IFA loan payment estimate, 30 years at 3.5%, that's on $753,000. That's $40,000. The loan payment less service connections, that was some of the upfront cost that everyone had to pay. So it ended up to be what we estimated at this point at $26,000. Because we could cover that with, now keep going up. The other way. Yeah, we could cover that with the property tax.
So you guys would pay $4,000 additional dollars in property taxes every year above and beyond the payment that would have to happen with all those annexations.
Plus the water usage fees.
Right.
Right. Thank you.
And these are based on their current assessed values?
Yeah, I got those numbers from the assessor's office. On the project, that's what the town would be. Why
What's
some
our
of that,
other
why some of
users?
that is assessed so low,
That's what I was
yeah,
kinda wondering, cause
yeah.
I'm looking at that and I know the values, I'm like, wait a minute, those are really low compared to some others.
I don't know.
The Pacific Pine, once they add those buildings, they'll be reassessed.
Yeah, it'll be reassessed.
Yep.
He's adding another building too.
Yeah, there's like 20,000 square feet.
That locks us in for 30 years.
Now, so will Max's Garage be involved in this,
They didn't show any interest. They said they had a great well and they had all their sewer problems taken care of.
but in the annexation,
Zero.
they'll be involved in the annexation, though, aren't they?
They don't necessarily, there's a strip of land between them and the highway.
So they're not surrounded without, unless we took, and yeah, so to forcibly annex them, they have to be surrounded on all four sides by,
So we just go around them and
pretty good.
we got that all over the county here that way.
Yeah, it's how it works sometimes.
So there are other property owners there that haven't necessarily been approached, so like,
The private
Like
homeowners
USDA.
on there's 2 private homeowners on the highway there, on the east side of the highway. I don't know whether they've been.
Because
I
we'll be
have
able
not-
to add any of these additionals that's within that path,
Yeah, I just tried a
but the loan
cold,
itself is covered.
cold call on the houses out there, and one guy said that Pardue's in their blasting of their pit had affected as well adversely, and he was interested, but he wanted Pardue's to pay for it.
But the connection to it, I mean, the overall,
Only fair.
the majority of this cost is actually building a line.
Right.
The connecting in is like a normal service connection in town where it's.
It's a little bit more because you've got
Yeah,
a
the
door
distance.
under the highway, you gotta go from one side of the highway to the other.
But it's still something that would be reasonable for people to
Oh,
say,
yeah.
oh, your well's gone bad, 10,000 plus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's what, a couple
$4,000 or
$1,000 roughly for somebody to hook up.
it'd probably be a little bit more than that, going under the highway.
It'd be on, this line is proposed on the west side of the highway.
West side of the highway, cause I can get right away. Larson, almost everybody, Cornerstone, said we could have right away, so I didn't need to be right tight
Well,
against the highway.
And the majority of the customers are on the west side of the road too, so
Yeah,
it
and I
makes
don't-
sense to go down the west side.
I don't mean to kind of get too far in the weeds on this, but, you know, we talked long ago about Hunter's wanting to be annexed, and it was just too far up the highway. And if this gets us roughly to an industrial lane, you know, another project could get us up to that commercial area as well, and then eventually tie into the water district that's serving Goldmore and stuff like that.
So we could
Potential
we could
possibility.
annex.
We have the
Hunter's now.
Goldmore system that has a water line out there.
Yeah,
They have water now.
they wanted to annex, I know they were in that process 2 or 3 years ago.
Hunters has a water service to them right now, they don't have sewer. Oh yeah, they do, they go out to Dusenberry. They have a pressure line out to Dusenberry, I don't know what the advantage for them to annex would be.
When we get into this annexation,
We need to look and see how many we can take.
I've been asking, ever since I've been on this council, I've been asking for a real
Well,
look at who has already signed consents to
Remember,
annex.
the statute has that triple majority rule. So if you got the majority of the value of the land base, and you got the majority of the people, and you got the majority of the land area, then you can include some of those smaller ones, if you wanna do that.
Yeah, I think Darwin Drive, we need to take a good hard look.
But I mean, there's stuff down, you know, 4th Street, out by,
V Street is,
Out by
I
the
think
fairgrounds
almost everyone
itself.
on
The only thing you wanna make sure you look at is, I think we talked about this before, make sure you're not biting off more of a maintenance problem, cause again, you annex it, you own it, and so some of those, like I said, we've got water service and whatever, we annex them in, that also then requires taking over streets and other things like that, so that can be kind of, that's what's nice about this particular project from a technical standpoint is,
this
this is the state highway, we're not taking, this isn't our maintenance problem, so. Where some of the other ones could, you get more expense than what you're actually getting value out of.
I'm talking more about the 4th Street
Right.
and west.
We keep
Stuff that-
annexing more in, Jeff's gonna have to hire more people.
Stuff that we, 4 or 5 years ago, allowed additional buildings to be put
We
in.
need a bigger city shop.
Should have been in.
Right.
Then,
Get them to work
instead
harder,
of them,
But that,
get them to work harder.
stuff like that.
The other nice thing about these kind of expansions is at least we're starting it out right, this isn't that crazy quilted crap that's in the south end of town
Oh
where
my God.
it's 10 different directions, leaking, wildcat.
South, we all know it's issues south, but the central stuff and the stuff north like this, it sounds great.
The other water project, the treatment project is USDA has it, we have the audit, and a draft audit. Did we get a final one yet? We just still have the draft.
We got the final.
Oh, we got.
And it's been sent over to USDA.
Okay. I sent them the draft some time ago, and if they got the final,
They've got the
then we
final.
can get that final.
As well as the state of Oregon.
So we're just waiting on them,
We're
huh?
just waiting on that. The auditor had experience working with the USDA on how they wanted to see the water and sewage. So that was.
just, this, I mean, timeline wise, we're thinking maybe next spring if it gets awarded this fall-ish.
Yeah, probably it'll be that,
Yeah.
notice of.
And then it's probably, I can't remember how long the time period was in which it would take to actually do the system treatment plant and other things, but
The north
It's gonna be a
thing,
couple
the
of
north
years.
end thing could start this year.
it's starting this year.
Yeah, that could start as soon as, Larry Holzgam's pretty excited about
We
that.
might be able to get that
Well,
finished.
everything you presented, I'm all for all.
Yeah. And I would love to say this, I would much rather have this smaller project done before we get into the bigger one. So we're just not double stacking ourselves.
Still at one time.
They're all up.
All yours, Jeff.
Let's throw in a big water main.
You get USDA to give us $30 billion, probably can.
That'd be great.
Okay, thank you.
Darwin's like,
You
really?
bet, thank you.
Jeff will look like me.
Okay, anybody, council, have anything else?
Nope.
Nobody else? All right, we will adjourn regular session at 5:23.